Texas undefeated matchup in Austin, as the now ranked Kansas Jayhawks will go down there and play Texas. Texas looked great last week, obliterated Baylor, and Kansas took care of business with BYU at home. What happens now, Reese?
To me, it's gonna be can Texas now play down to Kansas level? Kansas just came off a win against Baylor, or not Baylor, BYU last week. Didn't look the greatest. That defense, they have a great rush defense, but that pass is awful. They give up 357 yards. And then that Texas defense also has a stout run game. So it's going to be, what can Jalon Daniels do? I think with that rush game, what's Neal going to be like? I don't know if that run game is going to be there quite so much. I got Texas only giving up 90 yards a game on the ground, and then Kansas is averaging over 200 yards on the ground. So which one is going to go there? I think Kansas is going to have to turn to the air more, even though Texas has a pretty solid secondary. You get them at home, and I think the reason why I don't think Kansas can win this game. I think they have a shot to cover. If they're going to win, Jalon Daniels is going to play the best game he's ever played so far. But Texas just did what we're supposed to do last week. So I think that's maybe a little bit of a letdown spot for them, where they might be looking ahead to Oklahoma next week. I know Kansas is a better team, but it's still Texas, and you're playing Kansas. And if you look at the history of college football, this is a team where you don't really give a second glance at it. So I think Texas might have a chance to overlook them this week. They just can't play down to their level. If Ewers turns the ball over, gives them extra chances, they can keep it close. They might have a chance at the end. But I think Worthy and Mitchell can have a day against this Kansas secondary, and as long as Ewers doesn't turn the ball over, they can be just fine at home.
Yeah, Kansas defense has kind of showed their teeth a little bit. Like, they've gotten much improved. And have they been super challenged? No, but in places where you could say, yeah, that's a team that's worth, looking at and understanding what they've done against them, they're still ranking in good spots. I mean, they're ranking in the top 25 with rush yards a game. They're ranking in the top 10 of, top 40 of yards per rush that they're giving up. They're ranking in the top 50 of pass attempts and the completion percentage. Like, they've been good, right? Like, is that the same when you bring in Ewers and a high-flying offense and all these weapons literally all over the field, and the offensive lines? Like, Kansas got a good offensive line, and they're all right on the defensive front, but they're not going to live up to it. Like, Texas whipped on an Alabama offensive line that we know is not very good. What can they do against a Kansas offensive line? What can Texas offensive line do against a Kansas front seven? I think it could be just as ugly in some spots, right?
Yeah, it could. I think the bright spot for Texas this week is, like Reese said, they have multiple offensive weapons on the outside, but I think Xavier Worthy is going to be matched up on Kobe Bryant, who's probably one of the best players in the Big 12, and he showed that over the first 4 weeks. Now, can Kansas continue this high road of offense that they've been on? They're going to need to. This is by far the best team they played, and you ask about Kansas 2 years ago, if you put Illinois and BYU on their schedule, you're probably thinking they're going to at least lose both of them, if not one. So I think this is a very important spot, not only for Kansas and Texas being themselves as college football programs, but for me and Schaefer, as Schaefer was all hate on Kansas at the beginning of the year. They're 4-0, Jake, 25th in the country. They're getting bowl eligible. I'm telling you, they're getting bowl eligible.
I'll give you that one. They're going to get to a bowl game, but I'm still very skeptical on this football team. The last time we saw Daniels in Austin, we saw him make some magical plays with his legs and stuff outside of the pocket, but this is a completely different Texas team than that game was 2 years ago. The biggest thing for me is how long does Kansas rely on the run game of Devin Neal, or will they just have to rely on Daniels using his legs? Like, how long can they stay with it? If Texas is scoring back-to-back possessions, do they still try to run the ball, or do they force it and they ask Daniels to make more plays than I think he's capable of? Keaton Slovis had over 350 yards passing last week. And while I think Kobe Bryant's a nice player, I think the rest of the secondary and that defensive line is going to struggle to get pressure on Ewers. And I see this wide receiver group having a heyday. But we've also seen Texas at 2:30 in the afternoon sleepwalk through games. So that wouldn't surprise me either. Yep. But I think if they're not looking ahead, this team really locks in. I think this could get ugly, and I think Texas could cover at home.
I think you made a good point, though. They kind of sleepwalk through some of these games. It's very important for Texas to get off to a good start because they didn't really do that against Wyoming, and it was scary for 3 quarters. So I think Texas needs to get off to a hot start and not overlook this and just go through their regular report and be themselves, because if they play down to their level, like Reese said, it could be interesting for at least a half.
100%. I'll take Texas. I'll take Texas to cover. That's my pick there.
Ditto.
Too many weapons, and I'm not saying Kansas doesn't get their own, but I think there's too much.
Reese, who you got?
I got my pick coming later.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take Texas too. I think Texas will win this game, but maybe Kansas covers.
All right. Hey, maybe Kansas covers. I mean, that's not too confident in it, but it
Yeah,
sounds
no,
like
don't touch